great stocking stuffer ideas are pins. Everybody needs pins, and there's a lot of different pin products available. This really happened one day in the store. I was helping Kristen with a project, and I said, Kristen, give me your pins. And she hands me this. Set me into a tizzy, because who can work with a variety of rather lousy pins when you can have really good pins? By the way, mine are all sorted. They would never mingle on a shared pin cushion. So one of the organizing products that we have, which makes it a lot easier to store your pins, is a magnetic pin cushions. They come in all different colors, and when you have pins for different purposes and you are a little fanatical about being organized, you have multiple. So I have my quilting pins on one, my general garment sewing pins on another, and so on and so forth. I do have several of these. So let's talk about pins. One of my favorites for garment sewing is glass head pins. So glass head pins are super sharp, so they're great with garment fabrics. And because the heads are glass, not plastic, if I need to press on the iron, with the iron, I can put the iron on these pins and the pins do not melt. So if I, let's say, pin up a hem and I want to hit it with the iron before going to sew it, it's no problem. I don't have to work around the pins. The iron can be right on top of the glass head pins, and I love the super sharpness of them. There's also quilting pins. Quilting pins are a little bit longer, a little bit stronger, and again, super sharp. So anytime that I have to do something that's thicker, the quilting pins are my go-to pins. Flower head pins. Flower head pins have a flat head at the top, and the reason why I have another pin cushion just full of the flower heads is if you've ever done a project like stack and whack, where you layer up multiple layers of fabric and pin them together, and then you have to cut out different shapes with your rotary cutter and a ruler. Your ruler can lay down on top of these pins, and they lay flat enough that I can leave the fabric pins and work with my rotary cutter and my ruler. We have applique pins. Applique pins are a shorter pin. Anybody that's doing applique has a preference for a shorter pin, and we have those. We have numbered pins. So these are numbered 1 through, I believe it's 30. And why these are handy is if you're doing a project where you need to keep track of the rows or the blocks, you may have in the past taken a post-it note and pinned the number 1, number 2, etc. Well, you can use these numbered pins, and the numbers printed on the pin, and you don't need to be grabbing post-it notes, so a little bit easier. A new product for us that we've recently gotten in is fork pins. So fork pins actually are great for when you're trying to match up a seam in patchworking. So you might have pressed one seam allowance one way and one the other way, and you're going for that matching them up and sewing them both down. Well, as you're sewing, one's flipping one way, one's flipping the other. Instead of sticking in 2 different pins, the fork pin will do it all in one job and hold those seam allowances going in the direction that you need them to be going. In the magnetic category, magnetic wand, similar to the magnetic pin cushion. If you're kind of a sewer and tosser of the pins as you take them out, you can go pick them all up real fast and easy with the magnetic wand. Or for those mishaps where you've maybe accidentally dumped something on the floor and all the pins spill, the magnetic wand makes it quick and fast pickup. And this is a new addition because I've been finding on the long arm when I'm pinning my quilts, I had no place to put my pin cushion when I was starting out in the first steps getting my quilt pinned up to the leaders. So this goes on my wrist, the pins are handy, and as I'm working, I'm not reaching to grab something and constantly moving my pin cushion around, and I can't find my pin cushion because it's right there on my wrist. When I layer a quilt, I like to safety pin based if I'm quilting on my domestic sewing machine. So we do have size 1 safety pins packaged in bulk for layering quilts, which is my recommendation. And if you've ever layered a quilt this way, you know that it gets a little tiring on the fingers closing all the safety pins. So if you don't already have one, you might want to ask Santa to put one of these in your stocking, a little quick clip. It's a little tool that takes some of the stress off of your fingertips, and it holds the pin as you're closing the head down, and it's a lot more comfortable closing up all your safety pins with that. And then there's times where you just don't want a pin. It might be the edges of a quilt when you're putting on binding where it's really thick, or you might be sewing a fabric that doesn't love pins. You might be working with cork or leather or something where you don't really want to be putting a hole in the fabric with pins. Wonder clips are a great solution, and we have them 2 different ways, package of 10, and then they come bulk 50. And if you're like me, I started out saying, oh, package of 10 is going to be good because I use them here and there. Well, you end up using them a lot because it's a lot easier to clip an edge than it is to pin an edge. And so if you want them in the bigger quantity, we also have them that way as well. So I'm hoping that the next time that I help Kristen with a project and I ask her to show me her pins, give me her pins, she's going to be pulling out some very organized, good quality pins right for the job.